And I think when you're presenting a meeting or holding a meeting, having an agenda is good, but also setting the outcomes and what is the intention of that meeting. One of my favorite stories, the first time I heard it and watching the audience's face when telling it, was when Shondell talks about setting context. And the analogy is if you said, "Hey, can I have a coffee?" And then Shondell walked up with a jug of coffee and poured it over your desk, you go, "What the hell was that about?" Well, you said you wanted coffee. You didn't say you wanted a cup. All right. And I think so sometimes we do diarrhea. What do you say? Vomit.
Verbal diarrhea.
Verbal diarrhea all over the person without any context. And I think that's an important point. So when you are setting that agenda and you're giving the context, you're giving people clear idea. And then I think other thing you mentioned there, Alex, is really good, is making sure that you are allowing people to contribute. A lot of the times people are a bit fearful of speaking up or worried that their idea might. I know that I did work for a previous company, and the CEO's mantra was, if you got an idea, then you have to own it and deliver it, which meant stop anyone from bringing up any ideas because they're going to get no support. And when they did deliver it, it wasn't their idea, and therefore that no one else had any ownership of it. So it was quite painful. So setting up that context of understanding who's going to contribute and understanding if you do want to contribute something, creating that space so that people have the ability to talk up without the fear, without the judgment, and also feel that they're contributing is going to mean that you're going to get maybe some good ideas, maybe some not so good ideas. But even if the not so good ideas have come up, at least it's a conversation and we're seeing people are contributing.
Yeah, Brad, I just want to say something on that because I think you raise a really good point around psychological safety, which is very topical for many workplaces at the moment. And obviously, there are various different degrees of mental health and mental well-being. And one of the things that stops people from being able to contribute is the sense of a lack of safety or a fear that potentially they may be shot down or that they could be judged, etc. And so I think that by creating context and, rather than vomiting your information on people, which is something that I often say, it's important to give people a container so that they know what to expect and where this information is held. And this is something that gets missed inadvertently in teams all the time. People are busy. They want to progress their agenda. They want to get things done. And this sort of leads to the pitfalls of how we actually create a lot more confusion by racing ahead. And one of the things that we talk about at Life Puzzle a lot, which relates to what you said there, Brad, is that concept of the first 15%. It's, the issue of like kind of thinking about what are all the things that we need before we actually get started. And I think this gets missed a lot in the context of team gatherings or team meetings, whether they're regular meetings or strategy days or whatever it might be. I think we often neglect the idea of setting up to create success in our communication, in the way we set agendas, etc. So setting context can actually add to psychological safety because people come along knowing what's expected of them, how they should contribute, what preparation they should do in advance. And it's a form of communication. And one of the things that I think is super important in the context of building really amazing high-performing teams is to encourage dialogue. I think with the rise of social media and certainly with all of the information that we communicate digitally now, there is definitely a monologue that we see with people's communication. They're either having internal dialogue conversations as they type out their emails or their text messages or their social messages, and they're not often getting feedback verbally. So I think it's really important for us to not only create psychological safety by setting context and setting agendas, but also about encouraging questions and dialogue and communication.